Hi, Yvette Cameron here from the Velocity Network Foundation, and I'm super excited today to be talking with Dan Boccabella, the Vice President of Product Management from SumTotal. Dan, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Looking forward to the conversation. Listen, before we get into it, why don't you spend just a few minutes telling me about your background, how you got here, how you got to head up product strategy over there, product management at SumTotal?
Sure. Yeah, I was a dual major MBA in industrial and systems engineering graduate at the University of Florida and went down the entrepreneurial career path. Worked for a small computer consulting company, and one of the projects we did was for a performance assessment system. Enough people that had left the organization we developed it for came back to us and said, "Hey, I'm now the new company. Can we get that same system?" So yeah, I went ahead and founded a company just to sort of commercialize that product. Um, and we set up a royalty deal with the pharmaceutical company that we originally developed it for. And we kept growing the company and got to the point where we bought the rights back. At that time with Johnson and Johnson to sort of be on our own. And we sold the company to SumTotal Systems in 2006. And so for the last 14 years, I've been at SumTotal in various positions of product leadership, originally over the products that were acquired from my company. But now I lead product strategy over our complete suite of products, from our HR and payroll products to our talent management, talent acquisition. And really the bulk of our business and our company is centered around our learning management system, and really a learning centric approach to talent management and talent development.
Yeah, and I've got to believe that over those 14 years, you've seen a lot of changes, not only in the organization, but in what's happening. But maybe not so many changes as what we've seen just in the last 9 months, right, with the pandemic. So I'm going to start my first question off with that. How do you see the impacts of the pandemic having on learning and education, and really what does the future look like now, given what we're learning and seeing with the pandemic?
Yeah, I think in that first sort of 30, 60 days where we thought this was going to be a relatively short temporary scenario, I think people were focused on just the logistics. How do I get people connected at home that used to work in the office? How do I make sure that people that are coming into the office, essential workers, are following our compliance and new standards? Um, and folks like myself, I've worked from home the last 6 years, thought, okay, it'd be no big change. It's just business as usual. But the realities of now everybody in the house at the same time, being part-time homeschool teacher, part-time worker, that work-life balance began to be a struggle for almost everybody. And now, as we get 6 months or more into it, the focus has changed, where people have begun to realize that this is sort of the new normal. So before, where it was more about the logistics, can people work, can we do our job? But people weren't really switching jobs. They were concerned about stability. They were concerned about staying with, happy to have a job. Now we're seeing a lot more movement, a lot more internal mobility. We're seeing voluntary turnover, and we're started recruiting. And so it's back to this new normal, business as usual. So now it's more about how do we deal in this new environment. Luckily, we're in a business, e-learning, which is one of the businesses that has probably increased, at least in prominence, if not importance, within many of our customers. So we've seen our customers move from using e-learning as that once a year compliance training they might roll out to individuals, or something that's a government mandated certification or compliance requirement, to something they're using to more interactively engage employees, try to recreate that water cooler type informal learning environment in our new virtual world. So it's definitely changed. I mean, we've always seen the rate of change of our computer systems has typically been faster than the rate of change of the individuals absorbing it. And now we've seen all that accelerated. Organizations that said, "Oh, you can't work from home, now you must work from home." Organizations that might have been resistant to rolling out our mobile apps or video capability now are saying, how soon can we turn it on? How can we How can we get value? Who can we talk to that's been doing this for years? That since we're having the shorten our implementation time frame from 3 years to 3 months.
I do love how, our technology kind of prepared this for, this pandemic situation, the e-learning, as you said, this ability to take things on demand. And at least the technology had evolved to a point that we could move to this remote working environment and be better supported. Another of the changes, though, is the fact that learning really has become more of a continuous learning environment, right? Yes, we still have compliance that we have to meet within our organization, and there's targeted skills, but really the environment is moving much more towards this continuous development, continuous learning, lifelong learning format. And I'm curious, when you think about what we're involved with as part of Velocity and the idea that we are giving individuals self-sovereign control over their credentials, learning credentials and others, how do you see that providing unique value to individuals in this situation where learning is continuous and the world is changing and it's all very remote? What are the real advantages for the individual as we talk about self-sovereign digital credentials?
I think it's two trends that we've seen even before COVID. One is the desire to have more control, visibility over your personal data, and to be able to control how the data is being shared, how's it being used, who's it being shared to. The other is the ability to get credit, to self-promote. I've taken this training, I've gotten this certification, I want to share that. We've seen that with badges, learning badges that we might issue through our e-learning program that people will share on social media or share on LinkedIn to show I have completed this. I think this provides a lot of that functionality of the shareability, but with that aspect of security and control. So whether I'm sharing that with my current employer because I want to take advantage of internal mobility within the organization, new opportunities, things that I might have consumed and done outside of my employer's knowledge that now I can show them, and it's not just a self-reported, hey, I attended a couple workshops online, to no, I can get something that can be validated and I can control who sees that. And of course, as the individual, I'm also probably interested in making sure that I'm building this as a portable resume that I can take to my next job opportunity. Most of our customers, have reported for probably the last decade that if they want the most up-to-date information about their employees, they don't typically go to their employee profile and their internal HR system. They'll go off of LinkedIn.
Right.
And I think this sort of bridges that gap between having that portable information with that privacy and security layer that can be used both for my current career and my current job and my next one as well.
Portable, secure, and trusted, right? Because the credentials are being issued from the organizations where I'm taking that learning, where I'm having those experiences. So I know that what's in my digital wallet is trusted. So
Exactly.
yeah, I definitely see obviously a lot of opportunities and benefits for the individuals. How about from the employer side? What's your perspective there?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is obviously within recruiting, shortening the recruiting cycle times, reducing the needs for as much verification and background check. But I think many employers that might be resistant at first, the same thing we've seen with badging is, we want to train people for this job, not their next job. And that's what we want to invest in. But I think they're going to find the benefits for that internal mobility. And you really want to promote from within, and you really want to be able to have individuals self-report validated training experiences and things that they take outside of the organization, and be able to use that to plan who is going to be your next leader, who is going to be the folks that I'm going to put on this team that's going to develop this new product line. It's going to bring you more up to date, more verified, and really more. It's going to save you time to to develop your current resources and deploy them in a way that's going to make sense in this new world of moving from traditional job descriptions to a skill and competency gig, more gig or task-based job description. And a lot of organizations just don't have the infrastructure in place to do that. And they need to not only rely on what's in their internal systems, but what's coming from systems that are external and that employees have interacted with that they just don't have visibility of today, other than maybe a note. I can tell my supervisor offline or type an email, but it doesn't become part of a trusted record.
Yeah, one of the commonly cited challenges is that organizations don't know the talent that they have in
Correct.
within their company. They don't know the skills and capabilities. I remember a story of somebody in Southern California trying to, hire a whole bunch of people in the healthcare industry, and they weren't able to bring people on fast enough, and they weren't, it was taking a long time to verify credentials because right at the early start of this COVID pandemic, companies were shut down and background checks were delayed. And this idea that individuals have this comprehensive profile that they can bring forward and share with their organizations, so organizations have that complete inventory is super exciting. When you think about the impacts on career mobility and hiring and so forth. On the topic of hiring, we've both been in this business for a very long time. And we've seen, how job descriptions are posted. And it seems that for years, we've been trying to hire for, this predefined a set of requirements, right? We've got a job title, we've got skills that we think we need, and we're trying to hire for that. But clearly the need for more diverse and inclusive workforces has come to light, right? The opportunities that they bring and so forth. I'm curious if you think this concept of self-sovereign digital identities will improve the data, the types of data that we're collecting or insights we're able to glean from them to improve diversity and inclusion. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple obvious ways. One is, like you said, more accurate data. It's hard to support your diversity and inclusivity initiatives, it, if you don't have data and you don't have consistent data. So this is going to, provide a framework for data consistency. But the other part is you're going to reduce the number of manual interventions on things such as, reference checks, background calls, you're likely going to reduce the number of face-to-face or now virtual interviews in the hiring process. So by automating some of these things, by relying on these trusted credentials, you're going to pull individuals out of some of the process that has the tendency to introduce implicit bias. Just like, many organizations have struggled with, virtual recruiting as, do I use video or not? And is video going to increase the effect of some implicit bias? I think what we're seeing here is we're not saying we're going to necessarily get rid of the interview process, but maybe we're going to get rid of some of the other interactions that are no longer required because the individual is already bringing validated credentials. And so I think it'll help there, but obviously the data and having that consistent set of data, a consistent set of trusted data, none of these things are a magic on-off switch. But I think these are tools that are going to help and definitely help an organization, achieve their objectives faster than they were able to do the old way, which is you rely on, self-reported, hard to validate, hard to verify, lots of manual interactions, lots of interactions that had the ability to introduce bias.
Well, let's hope so, right?
Yeah.
Let's hope that comes to fruition soon. So, speaking of which, the SumTotal organization, you've joined with 20 odd other companies across the globe to contribute to the development and the protocols and the governance of the emerging Internet of Careers that's being developed by the Velocity Network Foundation. And there are many, many different approaches out in the market. There's a lot of proprietary plays. The Velocity Foundation is one of the few really, I think, truly industry plays. And I'm curious, why SumTotal? Why did you guys decide to join with others in the Velocity Foundation as opposed to building your own approach? I asked this question of a lot of people, but I think it's a really important one and one that people are interested in hearing about.
I think it really, two main reasons. The first is simplicity for employees and customers. We've seen in the learning space how, a standards-based approach has helped, for example, SCORM or XAPI for content. And now virtually every vendor in our space adopts those standards. It makes it easy for someone to use, a single interface. So maybe it's a single mobile app. It just reduces the complexity when everybody can agree on a common set of standards. But I think the bigger one is, and it goes back to the discussion before about privacy and security. I think there's a definite concern with folks about sharing their data and who am I sharing it to? What's the type of governance they have? And I just believe that having, working with our industry peers or industry competitors to come up with a framework provides more trust to the employee. It's not one vendor might have overlooked something, or one vendor is trying to do something with my data that it might cause me a sense of distrust. What that I wouldn't have, where I know this group of vendors, if they can all agree that this is the way to do it, I think it provides a little more reassurance. And our customers, we're not part of an ERP ecosystem. And so we're used to being an open system that, if our customers use SAP, Workday, Oracle, we've always taken an approach. We want to work across the vendors because customers should be able to leverage what they have and plug and play. And we just never really considered going down the route of developing our own proprietary blockchain. It just seemed to make sense. And when we became aware of your initiative, it was just exactly aligned to the way we've always dealt with these types of industry standards.
So with that approach and focus on industry standards and commonality, how does that speak to your ability as an organization to differentiate, right? If everybody's part of this network, does it mean we're all doing the same thing? What kind of, differentiation are you going to
At the
expect
end,
to bring forward?
yeah, at the end of the day, if we're looking at other learning providers that want to be part of this network, we're going to differentiate on our core business on learning, and we're going to make sure that consumers can take those next generation learning experiences, like the work we're doing with Microsoft on mixed reality learning, the work we're doing with different technologies, whether it's voice enabled intelligent assistants. We're gonna continue to innovate and differentiate on the ways we can deliver that personalized language, machine intelligence learning experience. We don't need to differentiate on the actual pushing it into that digital record, because that's a feature for us. Is we're gonna interoperate with all these different standards out there, including this one, and customers know that we're going to be open and transparent about our data usage and data sharing, and we're going to differentiate in our core business, which is delivering the best talent development experience we can.
I love it. And I suppose really, I mean, the Velocity Network is essentially, in addition to protocols and standards and compliance, it's also a platform. And just like we see, the iOS platform and others, the ability to bring apps and services on top of that platform, very different services and capabilities. Those opportunities are there, and that's what you guys are definitely known for. I tell you, I look forward to the next year as the network progresses and we continue to expand and build out our pilots and take these things forward. Super exciting, Dan, to be working with you. Thank you so much. I think any closing words you want to leave for people, a recommendation for the future as they think about self-sovereign digital identity?
No, I really think, from a SumTotal perspective, what I've been telling our customers and telling people that are asking is thinking of it more than just, I think there's a perception that it's just a recruiting tool. And it's something that people, they understand that recruiting use case. They understand the digital resume and the portable resume aspect. But when we really look at it from a way an organization can develop their talent, as you said, search for talent pools, identify the next leaders, really be able to get value and develop their internal talent, this is a great tool for doing it. And so we're constantly trying to preach that message to have people understand how this does support talent initiatives, not just recruiting. Recruiting is an important piece of it, and that's really what I'd like to leave as a closing.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dan. And, we'll look forward to talking again in the future. Thank you so
Okay.
much for joining.
Thank you.